Hello friends and welcome back to Painted Kids. This is Miss Jessica and today we're going to be talking about the great Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo was an artist during the Renaissance era and we're just going to go over a very brief history of his life and we're going to talk about a couple of his more famous pieces of artwork. Leonardo da Vinci was born on April 15th, 1452, near what is known now as Florence. He was born out of wedlock. His mother was a peasant and his father was an attorney and notary. He lived with his mother up to the age of 5. He then went to live with his father and his family in their estate in Vinci, hence the name Da Vinci. He was raised with his grandparents and his father's family. He became close with his uncle. They shared an appreciation of nature, which was a big influence in Da Vinci's work later in life. Because he was born out of wedlock, he was an outcast and didn't receive any formal education beyond basic reading, writing, and math. In 1467, at the age of 15, Leonardo was sent to Florence and became an apprentice for the noted sculptor, painter, and goldsmith Andrea de Verrocchi. He was one of 9 apprentices and assisted many of Verrocchi's work, such as Annunciation, painted in 1472. Da Vinci was greatly influenced by his master. Verrocchi really opened Leonardo's eyes to the world of science. Da Vinci stayed with Verrocchi until 1478, and then he became his own independent master. At this time, he painted the portrait of Ginevra and Venus Madonna. Around this time, experts believe Da Vinci started keeping journals. Although he would only complete about 20 paintings in his lifetime, it is estimated that Leonardo produced over 20,000 to 28,000 pages of notes and sketches spanning across 50 different notebooks. These journals consisted of subjects that interested Da Vinci, such as painting, engineering, philosophy, warfare, landscape, proportion, perspective, geography, geology, light and shade, anatomy, and even air. Leonardo was a firm believer in knowing what you paint. So for him, that meant studying everything from the human anatomy to the way the mountains looked in the distance. He was obsessed with understanding the world around him and how to transfer that knowledge to his paintings. It was his science that really allowed him to become the master we know him as today. In 1481, Leonardo begins working on the Adoration of the Magi. In 1482, Leonardo moves to Milan to work with Duke Sforza, and at the age of 30 received the title of painter and engineer. While in the service of the Duke, he painted Virgin of the Rock, Lady of the Ermine, and The Last Supper, which took him 3 years to complete. He also completed many drawings in his journals, but one of the most noted drawings is the Vitruvius Man. In 1499, Duke Sforza fell from power, and Da Vinci moves back to Florence in 1500 after spending a short time in Venice. From 1500 to 1515, he lived in Florence and painted and created drawings for many modern-day inventions such as airplanes, parachutes, and even a tank. He began his work on Virgin the Child with St. Anne in 1500. In 1502, he begins working as a senior military architect and engineer for Cesare Borgia. In 1503, he was commissioned to paint the Mona Lisa, but the painting was never delivered. In the same year, he was commissioned to paint the Battle of Agari. In 1515, he painted St. John the Baptist. In the following year, in 1516, he was invited by the King of France to receive the title of Premier Painter and Engineer to the King. 3 years later, he died on May 2nd at the age of 67. Today, Leonardo da Vinci is a perfect representation of the Renaissance era. Da Vinci was not only an artist but a scientist as well. He anticipated scientific theory by Galileo and Newton by at least a century. It was because of his passion for the science his art was able to come to life. With everything that he learned when keeping his journals, he was able to develop unique detail and techniques that no one had yet practicing in the arts. He loved art so much that he was driven to learn all he could to better the depth and the beauty of his own paintings. The perfect example of this is the Mona Lisa. This commission was never returned to its owner because experts believed that he was trying to develop the perfect painting. He worked on the Mona Lisa for 16 years, and he passed away before he considered it finished. He wanted more than anything to bring life to his paintings. It was Leonardo himself that said, "Art is never finished, only abandoned." Leonardo was truly a man ahead of his time. In this day, the Mona Lisa is the most viewed piece in the Louvre. Although Leonardo has long passed, his influence still inspires not only artists and scientists, but all who lay eyes on his amazing work. This video is just a short overview of the man that Leonardo da Vinci was. This by no means is even a complete record of all the work that he has completed. And in the description, I will leave a couple links to articles and documentaries that I found doing my research. There's so much to know about not only Leonardo and his life, but his techniques, his theories, and all the wonderful things that he has contributed to our society today. So the biggest thing I think we can learn just from this brief video of Leonardo da Vinci is to go out and experience life, study the things around you, and become familiar with the things and the atmospheres that surround you. Go out in nature, look around your house, find different things that you can study and gain more understanding of. So go out, my artist, and be like Leonardo da Vinci.